Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2007 horror film, The Mist. This is based off of the novella by Stephen King. I think it came out in 1980. There's a 2007 movie, which is 2 hours long, which felt like it should have been a TV show because it just had very stupid breaks it had moments where you're like, commercial break, and then it just pans to black into a brand new scene, but that's what happens in a TV show. It fades out for a commercial break or an ad break, and then it goes into the next scene. So it felt like a TV show. And then flash forward 10 years later, there was a 2017 TV show, 10 episodes long. It was on Spike TV. I never saw it. I refused to watch this movie back in 2007 because I was such a massive, I still love the original Fog film from back in the day. Back in the 70s, I think the original Fog came out. Remake was very, very challenging to watch. But I loved the original Fog so much. And when the trailer first dropped for The Mist, and this came out in 2007, so I was 17 years old, and I was very opinionated. Go figure, right? And I was like, no, how dare they attempt to do something just like The Fog? So I didn't watch it. And everybody talked about the ending. Everybody knows the ending. The ending is memed constantly over the last 15 years. So the main character, David, winds up killing his son, the female survivor, the older female survivor, and the older male survivor, because the five of them escape this grocery store that they're trapped in for quite some time. A day or 2 days. And so there's only four bullets left. There's 5 people. He winds up shooting all of them so that way they can, not have to deal with the monsters anymore in the mist. And then, he comes out of the car and starts screaming and, come on, let's do this, take me. And then, it's the military coming and, there's a convoy of survivors. And he's like, they died for what? They died for what? And he's on his knees screaming, and then that's it. Cut to trailer. Cut to credits. So everybody knows the ending, right? Everybody's talked about the ending the last 15 years. 15 years ago, that's a long time. Animation's very interesting, I'll put it that way. There was some practical effects within puppetry of the first tentacle. So cool. And the guy who plays the Shermanator in American Pie, whose name I can never remember, he plays the character Doug, I think, in the very beginning before he gets eaten. So it's a survival film of these random group of people holed up in a grocery store, knowing that there's monsters in the mist, and then there's this one religious freak who is riling people up, and then eventually she's killed, thankfully. I did cheer for that. Some scenes were very challenging to watch because it was just bad or poorly executed. Other scenes were really good, like really good horror, really good monster stuff. So it's just a matter of, what do you do to survive, right? What do you do when there's a religious freak screaming and screaming and screaming, who then is riling up people as well to get people more riled up? And guess what happened? Once the religious freak was silenced, the riling stopped. It's so funny how that works. So it's the gasoline on the fire, and when you take the gasoline away and you take the oxygen away from the fire is no more. Fire needs oxygen to survive, and when you take away the oxygen, the fire is gone. It's very interesting how that works. So it's got its moments, but it was far too long for a film. It should have been an hour and a half, maybe hour 40, if that. But a 2-hour film is when it's a 2-hour film that felt like it was 3 episodes of a TV show. Very specific breaks. Why? And then 10 years later, there is an actual TV show. Why didn't you just make it a TV show in the first place? I don't know, man. I don't know. It was okay watching it from start to finish 15 years after its original release, and I never watched it back in 2007. It was okay. Like I said, I like certain points, and I find it hysterical of how the film has withstood the test of time in regards to memes. It's quite relevant still, which is very funny, especially the ending, screaming on the ground. Why? What was the point? Why? We all scream that internally, externally. Why? What is the point? Why? So 2007's The Mist. The thing that I did notice the most of, and I do want to bring this up, this was a heavy influence for Stranger Things. Massive influence for Stranger Things. Creatures coming out of the particle-infused mist, aka the dust particles from Stranger Things. Creatures coming out of the other dimension. The MP, the military man, literally saying that it was an experiment gone wrong, and they opened a window to another dimension. But then somebody said, well, what if you just opened a door and a whole gate is now open? Gates, windows, portals, doors. It's all referenced with Stranger. It's literally, it's the same concept, kind of. But, like, there's a lot of sci-fi fiction. Sci-fi fiction. That's what sci-fi means, science fiction. There's a lot of science fiction shows, science fiction books, science fiction property, science fiction movies, where there's a lot of opening different dimensions and, all hell breaks loose concepts. So, it's similar, but it was very heavy, gave me very heavy Stranger Things vibes watching it now. And it's probably funny because when somebody who is a fan of Stephen King's watched Stranger Things for the first time back in 2015, they probably said, wow, this is straight up Stephen King's The Mist. So it's interesting having the different perspective all these years later, being able to compare one to the next. And it's okay. They're fine in their own state. It's not like I'm saying, how dare Stranger Things copy Stephen King's Mist, because Stranger Things originally was supposed to be filmed taking place in Montauk, because of the Montauk Project. That at Camp Fox in Montauk. There's a whole slew of things that went on there back in the day. And so it's interesting how things are changed and morphed to the then current thing that we are currently used to, aka Stranger Things of what we are now and what we know and love. So 2007's The Mist, very interesting horror film. I will keep the word interesting together. It's a good word. It's a good word for it. It's good for its time. It's a good film to watch with your friends. I refused to watch it. I should have watched it back then, but c'est la vie. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.